Morning. Today is the 26th day of March 2014, and I'm very happy that we have Dr. Jagannath with us to tell us the story of his life and how he came to Sri Aurobindo and Mother. Welcome, Jagannath.
Thank you.
The first question I would like to ask you is about your early childhood. You were a Christian and brought up in a Christian family. Can you tell us about that?
Actually, my mother was a devout Catholic, and we were a devout Christian family. And I tried to be, faithful, honest Christian, which really by my, later standards, which was not really, so sincere, because we make confessions and, things like that. And it's more or less a ritualistic life. That's how it was. At that time I believed, that is what a good Christian is about. But later, even at that time, when I was about, let's say, even 8, 10 years old, I started believing that Christianity is not just about, learning the catechism and going to the mass and making confessions like that. But it is more about contact with, let's say, Jesus Christ, God, like that. And in your own self, you make your contact, and that's what good Christian is all about. And even at that stage, when I was 8, 9, like that, I couldn't believe that what they were teaching us, hell and heaven and all that. I felt it couldn't be true, you see.
Well, I was brought up in the Catholic Church,
Yeah.
and I was an altar boy.
Oh,
5 o'clock mass.
yes. So that's
For
how it
years
is.
I had to walk 1 mile each way from my home.
Yeah.
So I'm quite familiar, but you also said that you did things that were not so religious.
Yes, because
You're a
actually
little bit wild, is it?
that I have been. Actually, I've been very mischievous right through. You see, though my mother was, extremely strict like that. She was a headmistress of a school. But I always got away with a lot of mischief. I was always playing and, just I used to search for the books the day of the exam, but somehow I managed it. You see, management, I always did very well there, and that's how it was. I was always mischievous. Fun and, a lot of friends and like that. That's how it
But
was.
still you were considered to be a Christian role model.
Yes,
by your priests
because I'm sure I was very quite an expert at being pretentious. You can say that. Okay, that's how it was, and actually for them it was that I was getting first rank and attending the mass regularly and receiving Holy Communion regularly, making confessions, things like that. That's what they expect from a good Christian, and that's
Yes.
how for them. Yes, I was a role model. Yeah. Yeah.
And you had no knowledge of Hinduism.
At
that time?
See, actually, at that time, I believed as even my Hindu friends, all my Hindu friends, and most of them Brahmins actually. They didn't know anything about the Hindu philosophy as such. You see, they knew mythology and perhaps the names of gods and things like that. That way, actually, I knew more about Hindu mythology than all my Hindu friends because I was a very avid reader. I used to read a lot. I loved reading storybooks actually. So I was well read in Hindu mythology. Mostly stories, Ramayana, Mahabharata, all that. Most well read in my circle of friends. But I didn't know anything about the philosophy, you see. Just as my other Hindu friends didn't know. I used to think that, you see, Hinduism means, a lot of many gods, whereas Christianity, there's only one God. And, there are too many rituals there and like that. Of course, we also had rituals in Christianity. But I felt Hinduism was a religion where there were too many gods and Christianity had one God. This is all I knew about Hinduism, you see, apart from the mythology, that is the stories, you see.
But you believed in the divinity of Christ.
Yes, at that time, yes, I did. I had a very strong belief That's why I thought I'm a good Christian because I believe in the divinity of Christ, and I had a inner contact, or at least trying to make an inner contact with Christ. So I felt I'm a good Christian. You see, that way.
Tell us about St. Joseph's College.
See, St. Joseph's, that time, we wanted to go to the best college, and I could get in because of my marks in the school. There, it's a very Jesuit institution, if you know about it.
Yes.
They are very strict. Academically, they were the best at that time in the state. But for them, especially the Christian boy, they had a separate hostel, and very strict. 5 o'clock mass every day, and all the necessary rituals, everything. Everybody goes through, and no question about it. That to quite an extent actually put me off from even the rituals of the religion, because earlier I used to follow them quite willingly. When it was made compulsory like that, it created an aversion. You see, it was like that.
Yes, yes. And you scored fairly high in your class.
Yes, academically I was always doing that.
But someone was first and you were second. Tell us about that.
Oh, that's not important. But anyway, St. Joseph's, as I told you, academically it was the best there. And in my class, I scored in all the subjects. I used to come first except in French. I had taken Tamil. You see, Tamil, nobody scores more than 60, 65, like that. French, you learn absolutely the basics. So you score 90, 95, you see. So you used to get the first rank and I used to get the second rank. That's okay.
But we have something very much in common, and that is a love of Bangalore.
Oh. Yeah.
Because for me it was the city in India that was the
Wow.
garden
Okay.
city.
Yeah, for me that time, yes, Bangalore was
At
a
that
dream.
time,
Yes,
at that
yes,
time,
yes, yes.
Tell us a little about your schooling there.
My college there, yeah. See, actually, I had a choice of going to Madras Medical College because of my distinction in pre-university in St. Joseph's. But I chose Bangalore because I had attended the entrance examination there, and I was absolutely sure I'll get in there. So I didn't even attend the interview in any other college, actually. I didn't even go, you see. So I was so sure about St. John's. And I preferred St. John's for two reasons. I loved Bangalore. And secondly, I was, quite crazy about the Western way of life at that time, you see. So that's so I chose it.
And that would include smoking and drinking?
Not necessarily.
Not too much.
No. At that stage, I never thought of these things. No.
I see.
Not
That was later on.
That was later, you see. In fact, my second year in medical college, it happened. Because when I joined St. John's, it was only these two things. The Western way of life for me included, let's say, the cultural activity like music. Okay, music, dance, and things like that. You see, not. I didn't think when I entered the college that I'll be drinking and smoking. I didn't think that actually.
What was your first contact with Indian philosophy? Was it Yogananda?
Yes. No. Swami Vivekananda. Not Yogananda.
Vivekananda, yes, yes.
See, I had a close friend, my classmate Kulas. We were actually always the fun-loving guys, and for some people, the jokers of the class. Actually, always laughing and making jokes and things like that. And but both of us were serious about certain things, like psychology. Both of us were interested in psychology and philosophy. Actually, we used to read Bertrand Russell and all that at that stage, yes, when we were about 16, 17. And in fact, Western philosophy, he introduced me to it. So we had that kind of common interest. I was from a very small, town, not much of Western background. So this kind of Western background, I got a bit from him, this Western philosophy and Reader's Digest and things like that. Reader's Digest I had read before, but anyway. So he, since he was interested in philosophy, for the first time when he read something on Swami Vivekananda, not something on, let's say, the one of the collected works of Swami Vivekananda. He had read Hindu books and all that, but he didn't know anything about the philosophy. Just like me, he didn't know anything about the philosophy. So he read it, some things he liked, but he felt that I'll gain something from it. He was sure about that. So he gave the book to me and said, you will get something from it, you know, you will like it. And he gave it to me. And I think it was the second volume, I'm not sure, I don't remember. I just turned it and read the second page actually. Second page, I think. It was just one, in bold letters they had given that, just a small paragraph, 4 or 5 lines. I don't even remember the exact words, but the essence was that all existence is one. And something like one in all and all in one. That's all. And mentally I never thought about anything and nothing. I was just taken over by an experience, that's all. It just came and took me. I didn't have to think or contemplate on the sentence, nothing, absolutely nothing. It just happened. I was just taken, that's all.
And then
I had no control, no thought about anything, and absolutely into it. That's what happened.
And how did you first hear of Sri Aurobindo's name?
Oh, that was much later. Much later means maybe 3 years or so, 3 years. But in the meantime, I was totally immersed into reading Hindu philosophy, actually, Upanishads and whatever I could get hold of. But I never came across Sri Aurobindo actually at that time. That was maybe 2-3 years later. That was, in the meantime, there was some touches where there was a possibility. Probably I was not ready, whatever, but it didn't happen. Then one day in Bangalore, Cubbon Park, there's that stadium, sports stadium is there.
Yes.
So again, actually in the meantime, I had passed out. I had gone for my, no, this was before that. No, I had not yet passed out. Kulas and I were walking on that Cubbon Park Road near that stadium, and adjoining the stadium they had put up a small book show, actually exhibition, only of Sri Aurobindo's books, because that time the centenary was coming. Sri Aurobindo's birth centenary was coming, 72. So this might have been maybe 71 or something like that. I'm not sure about the year. And only Sri Aurobindo's books. Those saffron colored books, you remember, centenary editions.
Yes.
They had just started coming out. So many of those books were kept in an exhibition. So Kulas and I were walking. So he saw Sri Aurobindo's books. Let's go have a look. So I was not in a mood actually. I said, I was reluctant. He said, no, you will like it, come on. He pulled me. So we walked in. Then again, I saw the major works there. And I turned again, just the first paragraph of The Life Divine. Again, it is not the sense of what I read or anything. I immediately felt the contact with Sri Aurobindo, and I knew he was my guru. You see, that's it. That's what happened.
Yes. So you picked up the synthesis also? Did you? I think you said that you asked for. You wanted to purchase some of the books?
Yes, I wanted all the books. We didn't have any money actually. So eventually I picked the synthesis first, and then I think it was synthesis first. And I think even for that we didn't have, or synthesis plus the Life Divine. I didn't have money for that. So that was being run by one devotee. He owned a silk emporium in Commercial Street. Okay, I don't know if he's still there with that shop. So he said, you can take the books and you can pay me later. He gave me his address. So I took what I wanted and we paid him later. Actually, that's how it was.
Tell me what you meant by calling his books the flame-colored books. That's very interesting.
Yeah, because see, this was between Kulas and me. I completely stopped reading any medical books after that, and I was reading only Sri Aurobindo's books. And they were all the centenary edition. They were those saffron-colored books, if you remember.
Yes.
So Kulas and I used to call them the flame-colored textbooks. Actually, the word was coined by another person who also got into this stream. You see, Philip, another medical student, he was junior to me. He also got into this stream, and Philip and I actually, Philip Kulas used to read a bit like that. Philip and I used to read only Sri Aurobindo's books, day in and day out, no other thing. And we used to call them the flame-colored textbooks. You see, that's what it was. How it was.
You had a friend who got into pranayama, and
yes.
What happened there?
See, actually, he got into this, and probably he thought he can accelerate things by doing, concentrated or more of this pranayama and some tantric practices also. Actually, this Muladhara used to hold, and I mean they are extreme practices of pranayama. So he used to do all that, and he eventually had a nervous mental breakdown. Later I had contacted him, and I visited his family also. I certainly felt there was a possibility of genetic mental background was definitely there, no doubt about that. So he was vulnerable, and then this did it actually.
And tell us about Sri Aurobindo's book, The Mother. You had mentioned The Mother, his book,
yes.
The Mother. It actually wasn't a book, it was a letter to a disciple, and it was made into a book.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, now actually, somehow I had read all these books, but I didn't know much about the mother actually. I knew there was a mother in Sri Aurobindo ashram, but the spiritual significance of the mother I didn't know, in spite of reading all these major works. Significantly, somehow, I mean, my time was not yet there. I had not read the mother. Okay, which I feel if you're going to do Sri Aurobindo Yoga, that is the most important thing actually, to contact with the mother. So I didn't get that at that time. So I'm reading all the major works, you see, all this human cycle, ideal of humanity, all the letters, everything. But I had not read the mother. And and newspaper things come like that. I was not reading the newspapers at that time, and Kulas used to keep me posted what's happening, and Aurobindo coming up and all that. And he had mentioned about the mother also, but I thought there's somebody administering the ashram actually. That's all I thought. After Sri Aurobindo, that's what I thought. I didn't know. Then even when I came to the ashram, I didn't know really about the mother. I knew that mother was there, but I didn't know about the mother. I just thought Sri Aurobindo ashram, so I'm going to settle down there. That's all. Only after I joined the ashram, I read the mother, and the real inner contact directly with the mother came after that.
When did you first come to the ashram? The first time?
First time was when I was in my final year. I had not yet passed out. Mm-hmm. So I packed up my things in the hostel. When I came to know there's an ashram in Pondicherry, so I decided that I'll join the ashram. Before that I had thought before my contact with Sri Aurobindo, I had thought my aim in life was nirvana, you see. That's what I had thought.
Yes, you had written about that.
Yes, I thought I'll finish off with all my karma, then do something for my family, because my mother had, brought us up and all that. Then I thought eventually I'll land up in the Himalayas and try to achieve nirvana. This was my idea before I came across Sri Aurobindo. Then when I came to know that, so once Sri Aurobindo was my guru, then that nirvana idea just fell, absolutely. Then when I came to know the ashram is alive in Pondicherry, so I decided that's my place, and I came here. without knowing anything about the ashram. I thought there'll be a few huts and a few people maybe in loin cloths and things like that. See, that's what I thought.
Yes.
So anyway, I thought this is my place and I'll be here. So I packed up my things in the hostel, told them I'm vacating the hostel, and told my close friends I'm leaving my studies. My very close friends, they already knew. So I wrote a very long letter to my mother. In fact, I went home and met her also. I told her, tried to explain to her in whatever way she could understand that I'm going to Pondicherry, I'm stopping my studies, all that, and came here.
But she was a very understanding mother.
No, see, actually, she didn't understand exactly what all the things I was explaining, you see.
Uh-huh.
All that she knew was that the confidence in her son. She felt that my son won't do something wrong. That's what she felt. And, she didn't protest at all. She didn't protest. When I was talking to her, she might have understood. I was explaining in a language that she could understand. You see, nothing philosophical. I was telling that this is where I have seen the presence of God and I'm going there. Things like that. She was just silently sitting with the tears streaming from her eyes, and she didn't say anything and supported my going. And that's all, actually.
And she was a devout Christian?
Yes.
Okay.
But she felt that there is something that she didn't understand and I have understood, and she had that confidence in me. Yes.
So when did you arrive in the ashram that first time? Do you remember?
That was maybe 72 or 73. You see, I was in the final year, actually, 72, I think.
Did you see Mother?
No. I didn't know anything
not
about
even
the
balcony darshan?
No, nothing. I didn't
see.
know anything about the mother, actually. I didn't know.
I see.
So I came here, I had not read the mother, and I came here and I went to the reception. I said, I've come to stay here. They said, what? I told them I'm a medical student, I've left and I've come here. So they said, no, the mother has to see, the mother has to decide. So I wanted to see the mother. They said, actually the mother is not seeing anybody nowadays. If at all anybody wants to see, you have to take appointment well in advance. So you'll have to stay for a long time here, like that. And I didn't have any money. I thought I'm just going to the ashram, you see. Yeah. So I just packed up a few books and maybe a couple of change of dress, and I arrived here in a small briefcase like that, because I was sure that I'll be taken into the ashram, because I thought this is my life. So they were surprised. They said, okay, you speak to mother's secretary. They called him the secretary anyway, as far as I remember. So they sent me to Navajata. Actually, I think he was the secretary of the Aurobindo organization there.
So and the Sri Aurobindo Society.
Yeah.
Right.
Later I came to know that. But anyway, probably at that time, maybe if, because he was organizing all that, he used to contact mother for making contact with people and all that. So they asked me to meet him, and I met him. He said he'll speak to the mother and tell me you wait in one of the guest houses, and I'll inform you after 1 or 2 days. 2 days, he said, actually. After 2 days you meet me, he said. Then I was at a loss because I didn't have money to stay in a guest house. They told me there's a park guest house, and they have dormitory, they are very cheap. So I picked up my briefcase, walked up there. I think it used to be 2 rupees a day, the beds used to be. And I had enough money for 3 days, actually. And I paid that, and a little more left for my maybe 1 or 2 meals I had. That's how it was. And after 2 days, when I came back, but still I was very confident that mother will say yes and I'll get in. But Navajata told me that mother said, you finish your studies and then you come. Okay. So I said, now I have to get back. So anyway,
So you went back,
Yeah, I
finishing
did.
your studies.
Yes, that's what.
And then you took up some music also in your spare time. You
Music
studied
that
with Ravi
right through in
Shankar's.
my college days itself, we right from the beginning we had a lot of music in the college, Western music mostly.
Ah,
So that was going on anyway. I had already learnt to play the guitar to some extent. I mean, nothing much, but whatever. I could play the guitar, and we had a lot of music, all Western music that time, Western pop actually. That's how it was, and. Otherwise, after that, after this, my experience, again through Kulas, he started getting really into the Indian things and all that. He joined a Sita class with a master, well-known master, and I joined him actually. I joined Kulas.
was this the
for
master who was the student of Ravi Shankar?
That's right. That's right.
Ah,
Yes,
and the
yes.
teacher of George Harrison.
George Harrison. That's right. That was very funny.
Fantastic.
See, we were at his house for the first time. We went to his house, and he said, "You see that photo there? Yes, that's. You've heard about George Harrison?" He said, "I've heard. I mean, we knew all their songs." Okay. Okay. He said, "Yes, he has learned from me, and he was my student. You see, that's that's a."
Impressive introduction.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you about your first trip north of India, north of Bangalore. Sorry.
Oh, north of Bangalore, actually,
Yes.
Bombay used to go. I had gone a few times to be with one of my closest friend actually. I used to stay in their house during holidays and all that. North means I did my internship partly in Bareilly, Clara Swain Hospital, that is a mission hospital in Bareilly.
Ah,
Then I came back again to Bangalore. I was working at I was looking after a small mission hospital in Chennapatna. That's a CSI hospital between Bangalore and Mysore. It was about 10, 12 beds actually.
oh,
I was looking after that soon after my internship actually. They thought I'm mature enough to look after that. Then my army call came. That's how I went to the Himalayas and all
Okay.
this. It's like that.
and what was your work as a medical doctor?
In the army,
Yes, in the army.
see, army, you're primarily a soldier, okay? That's what they tell you, okay? Then you're a doctor. So we went through the whole course, actually shooting and drills and everything, and also the medical, let's say the training relevant for the army, like that. So that way we did some medical work and a lot of other things. That's how it was.
And when you completed all of this, when did you finally come to the ashram to stay?
That was 1980.
Ah,
So all along I knew that I am coming here. So 1980 I came here to the ashram to stay permanently. Yes,
and
And
you've been here since
I have
then.
not left Pondicherry after that. So I had waited enough to come here. And I mean, I left Pondicherry for purchasing things for nursing home, the X-ray department, or for my workers' dispensary like that. But always go in the morning, come back 3 times, 4 times, and once I think I left to watch the ATP tennis tournament in Chennai when it just started there.
Ah,
Morning went and came back. I think 4, 5 times on the whole. Go to Chennai and come back 4, 5 times like that. But otherwise, Pondicherry.
So when you came in 1980, with whose contact again you got in the ashram?
Huh?
When you came in 80,
who was the
who
contact?
was the contact again? Now
Yes. Actually, I couldn't get. I mean, my contact was Navajata. So I came and asked for Navajata. So they directed me to Sri Aurobindo Society. There, I was asked to meet one Mr. Guru Prasad. Okay, and he told me nowadays we are not taking new people into the ashram, and so but the people who want to follow Sri Aurobindo, they come to Auroville. Okay, So they put me to look after the nursing home in, the dispensary in Aspiration. And Dr. Sen actually. Dr. Sen was overall in charge. So they put me there. So they gave me a hut in Bharat Nivas area.
I see.
Okay. And so I used to go for the clinic in the morning, then finish by 12 o'clock, take my lunch, cycle down here, then sitting at the Samadhi. Then 3 o'clock, Sabda used to open in the afternoon. So I used to go to Sabda and sit there, read, buy books, things like that. I had a good contact with Rijuta, that's how.
Oh,
We became very good friends actually. Though so that's what I used to wait till 4 like that in Shabda, then cycle back because 4:30 or 5 we had, 4:45, I don't remember. We had an evening session at the clinic, so I used to cycle back. But this lasted very short time because Rijuta said, "You're welcome here." You see, so I left and came here actually, joined Shabda. That's it.
Rajuta was the contact for all the Americans also.
Yes.
So, a wonderful, wonderful soul. And so then, where were you put in the ashram finally?
Shabda. I worked in Shabda for about a year.
Oh,
Yes.
no, but where did you stay?
They provided, Shabda had some rooms in Comfort. Comfort was their earlier storage place. So upstairs they had some 3 rooms they had actually. So I was given one of them and I stayed there.
And when did you start your work as a doctor?
Oh, that again was not straight away like this. The nursing home, the ashram nursing home was opened in 1981, June I think, whatever. So I had just finished 1 year in Shraddha. Then Dr. Datta asked me whether I could be the resident doctor there.
Oh,
So I left Shraddha and I agreed to do that. That's
and now what have you been doing? You work
now
for the, you have a
I'm
clinic?
looking after the workers' dispensary. It was started by the mother for the paid workers of the ashram. Not ashramites, but the paid workers. It's some basic medical facility we provide there. And the mother started it in early 60s, I think. So the doctor was working there. He passed away in 85 or so sometime. Dr. Bose. So
Dr. Bose was there. Okay.
No, there were 2 Dr. Boses.
Oh.
I don't know which, the tall one you're talking about?
Maybe.
No, not him. There was another. We used to call him Paltanda actually. He passed away and then they asked me whether I would like to take over. I said, that's what I've been doing since then.
So you worked about 4 years in this nursing
No,
home.
nursing home I did only 1 year. 1 year. Then after that, actually, I was staying in a rented house, and but in the meantime, there I had studied homeopathy. Actually, that was one of the main reasons for my leaving. Actually, I used to study the whole night and sleep in the daytime. I was looking after the X-ray department. Kumud Ben had not yet come, and I set up the X-ray department there, and I used to go on 3 days a week or something like that there. And evenings I used to sit with Raichura, that clinic there. But I used to do homeopathy. That's what I was doing. Then when Paltranda passed away, then they asked me whether I can take over, and I have taken over.
And how did you move from allopathy to homeopathy? What was there a trigger?
Trigger was again I have to tell you the story of one Satya, again a remarkable person. Actually, he was a patient with myocarditis, very serious heart trouble, rare trouble he had. In fact, I'll tell you about him because it's very interesting. You see his story. He was admitted when I was in the. Is it all right? I'm
Certainly. No, please.
He is a very interesting person because, he was admitted in the nursing home when I was there. He was a German, a tall fellow, about my age, and he, a doctor, actually, medical doctor. When he was young, actually, very healthy person. He was in the national handball team of Germany, when he was in school. You see, very strong and healthy fellow. He completed his medicine, then became interested in philosophy. He started reading Indian philosophy. He traveled to the Himalayas, stayed there for a while. There he was getting guidance from some sannyasi who named him Satya. Okay. Then later he came across Sri Aurobindo and came and settled down in Aurobindo. He got seriously into homeopathy, and he was studying homeopathy very seriously. He was the science student type. For synthesis, he used to have big charts all around in his room on the walls. Okay, the planes of the being and things like that. You see, so he was like that. And he told me about homeopathy, and I had heard about homeopathy from Debuda also earlier, and somehow I was not so much impressed or moved to study it. But after my contact with Satya and discussions, I was really interested in studying it, and I seriously studied it actually.
Now, one thing I'd like to cover.
By the way, one more thing I must tell you about
please.
Satya. He had the death experience. Actually, his heart stopped for more than 5 times. 5 times I know. And they put a chip and all that. And he really went through the death experience, and each of them really significant experiences. So eventually he wrote a book in German on these experiences actually. That he did. That was he was a very interesting.
So that time you were treating him?
No. He introduced me to homeopathy. He was actually for his treatment, he had come for allopathy. He was also a student of homeopathy, but he also used to go sometimes to Debuda.
One thing I'd like to cover, because I'm a tennis fan, but a terrible player. But I heard you were a good tennis player.
Good, I don't know. I'm passionate about tennis. Okay, really passionate about tennis.
Same here.
Good. Okay, we play sometime.
No.
Oh, you're not playing anymore?
No.
Okay.
You still play?
Yes.
I see.
I do.
Daily, weekly?
Now it's 3 times a week. 3 times a week. Yes.
I
participate
understand
in the tournaments.
you've
Yes.
organized tournaments, tennis tournaments?
Yes, I do. I happen to be the secretary. We organize the tournaments, and I participate. I play singles and doubles. I'm doing all right.
Wonderful.
In some ways, I think in certain respects, I'm doing my best now.
I see.
I'm really enjoying it, and I'm quite
Running
passionate.
also? Are you
No, that
running?
I've stopped since 2 years actually. That's how I can. Actually, tennis was one of the distractions from my running, and I always wanted to. Tennis was more of a passion than running for me, but I thought that tennis I can come back to any time, but running, you see, I would like to do as much as I can and then come back to tennis. You see, so that as much as I can went to the extent of many injuries over several years, all that, and eventually last 2 years, 2 years back, I started only tennis. That's where it, and swimming.
Oh, and swimming. One thing I ask all of our disciples and devotees is what contacts you had with some of the elder ashramites that you might share with us. You might have met Nalini or Ambu.
No, the real senior. See, actually, by my nature, I don't seek to meet people or even I stay in my space. I don't seek things. You see, like that, outside that way. That's how it has been. I can't even say I've met anybody actually. No.
Interesting.
In fact, when I came here, before I became an ashramite, it took me 10 years in the ashram to become an ashramite. That time they had stopped taking new ashramites.
10 years.
Eventually, they took in 1989, I think, the first batch. So I came here in 1980. Okay. So during that period, I was not an ashramite. So I didn't know anybody in the ashram except one person actually, except those who used to come to me for treatment in homeopathy, because I was running a homeopathy clinic, and others whom I had met in the nursing home like that. But I never developed, except one person I can say, Brad Kishore. I had a good contact with him. We became very friendly, and I spent a lot of time with him. I learned some Sanskrit from him. like that. Yes, only I can say only by Kishore. Otherwise, I went out meeting people.
But before you became an ashramite for 10 years, how you managed your expenses?
See, actually, my expenses, I was willing to live as an absolute sannyasi, you see. So, see, I was sharing a house, rented house with Madhu. And there the rent was something like 150 rupees a month. So we shared it, 75 rupees a month. And food was, I used to take one or two slices here, there, no problems. No any problem. Okay. Food was no expense really. A little milk and a little.
So your mother is still living?
She passed away 2 months back. 1 month back, February, yes. 1.5 months back.
So did she come
90,
here?
she was, yes, she was in Amba Bhikshu house.
Oh,
She came here in 19, on and off for a few years in the early 80s. Then she liked it and she wanted to come here when she retires. Then she came and she was working in the embroidery department for about 12 years. Okay,
oh.
where she was staying in different rented houses like that. And then shifting from house to house, it became a lot of problem for me. Every time you shift, then after 1 or 2 years, they'll give you some excuse. So I requested the ashram authorities. I asked them whether they can provide a room. If necessary, we'll pay for it. So she's been given a room in. She was given a room in Amba Bhikshu house, and she's been there quite some time. Actually, she was continuing the embroidery work. That is nearly. She's been in Pondi since 1986 or so. In between for her cataract operations, she had gone and come. Now last month, 96, she passed away last month.
So she was happy of her choice of coming to ashram. She understood later on.
Yes, after coming here, she started reading the mother's books actually, and prayers and meditation she was very fond of. And she translated one of mother's collected works actually, 1929, that volume. I was doing the translations and helping Sitaram with the editing of Vaikarai actually. So this one book, I wanted to see how she does. She volunteered and I gave it to her. She did fairly well. She was a headmistress. She knew Tamil well and English well because she had been educated in a European convent actually. So then I edited it a little bit and we published it. The ashram publishers actually.
And what languages do you speak? What
With
languages do you speak and write?
I.
Yes.
English, Tamil, Hindi. That's
okay.
three.
Okay.
These three.
And you translated-
Kannada actually I could speak fairly well when I was in college.
Yeah.
Bangalore. So now just a little bit.
What
Yes.
books have you translated into Tamil?
Quite a few.
Oh,
The last one was the first part of synthesis that I have done. Then before that, I started with More Lights on Yoga. Then Sweet Mother, Mona's, those 3 volumes. Thoughts and Aphorisms. I don't remember. I've been doing education, on education, Mother's on education plus Aurobindo's a system of national education combined together. That Abdul Kalam read it, he liked it actually. That we had sent it to him for review actually. I've been doing.
are you still doing? Are you still doing some translating?
Not in the last 1 year or 1.5 years. Actually, after this synthesis, it has faded out actually, a few reasons, but it is not.
So Dr. Jagannath
In
ji
fact, I
spoke-
did the second part, not the second part, third part, the Yoga of Divine Love actually. I completed it also, then unfortunately I lost it. Okay, my stupidity, the computer crashed and I didn't have a copy and we couldn't retrieve it and whatever. That was the last one I did. That was
Dr. Jagannath ji, so you spoke about your mother, about your childhood. So can you say something about your father, or if you had brother?
See, actually, I hardly had any contact with my father. Actually, he was, peculiar person. I mean, that was like that. He was a, landowner, zamindar in the very south part of Tamil Nadu, one of the southern districts. Okay, and he didn't care to be the landowner farming his lands and looking after the lands. He didn't like that. He was quite he wanted to be in the cities, you see, like that. And he tried his hand at other things like business, things like that. So he was a lot of time in Bombay, then, but he was not a good businessman at all. Okay, and he totally neglected his lands. So he was never at home actually. He was always. So my mother realized at a very early age that she had to be independent, and she was a headmistress of a school and like that. Then he used to come and visit and go like that once in a while. I saw him in my memory for the first time when I was 7 or 8. Then once when I was maybe 12 or like that, like that. That's
But
all.
he never came to ashram.
Who?
Your father.
No, absolutely no. I can't imagine that. I mean,
Did Kulas or any of your other friends?
Kullas visited me
turned-
on. It
yes.
so happened it was my birthday by coincidence, and he had come as an examiner in for the surgical students here in Jipmer.
In Jipmer.
So he and his friend landed up in the tennis court. I was playing tennis there, and he came and I didn't recognize him actually. That was after the 25 years. Okay,
Sure.
I had not seen him for nearly 25 years. So he came and said, "Do you recognize me?" I said, "I'm sorry."
Your closest friend.
Yes.
So he recognized you.
Of course, I mean, he came asking for me, no?
Yeah,
They guided
yeah.
him to me. And anyway, people tell me that I look the same. You see. So,
Last question,
yes, sir.
Jagannath, and that is, can you say something to the young people of the world about the mother of Sri Aurobindo
I don't know.
and what you have, in your experience, a few
See,
words?
actually, I don't really supposed to be a guide or anything, but I can only speak about myself.
Yes,
No, I can
certainly,
only speak
certainly.
about myself. And for me, it is very clear actually what I have to do with my life. That is very clear for me, and the path they have shown, it's for me, it's absolute certainty and very clear, no doubt about that at all. And for the younger people, they will come. Whatever the way, you see, I've gone through a devious path, whatever, but I've arrived, and I'm sure everybody will arrive, and whatever path they go through, it'll bring them, and it's fine. That's solid. I have nothing to say.
Wonderful.
No,
Thank you so much.
nothing. Thank you.
Very special interview. Thank you.